The way you speak to yourself in the morning, those first thoughts that surface before your feet even touch the ground, those matter more than you think. They set the course for everything that follows. If the first thing you tell yourself is, I don't feel like getting up, or I'm already behind, or this day is going to be exhausting, you're already stacking the odds against yourself before the day has even begun. Because here's the reality, your mind listens. Every single word you tell yourself, every passing thought, every quiet internal whisper, it all shapes the way you experience the world. And if you start the morning feeding yourself doubt, fear, or negativity, your brain will scan for evidence to support it. That's what the mind does. It follows the patterns you set. You tell yourself the day is going to be overwhelming, suddenly every little inconvenience feels like a mountain. You tell yourself you're not good enough, you'll notice every tiny mistake and magnify it until it drowns out your progress. But what happens when you take control of that voice? When you wake up and instead of surrendering to that initial wave of stress or doubt, you intentionally set the narrative. You start telling yourself, today is an opportunity, or I am strong enough to handle whatever comes my way, or even something as simple as I've got this. The shift is profound. Because now, instead of your mind scanning for reasons to confirm your limitations, it starts looking for proof that you are capable, that you are in control, that today is in fact yours to shape. And this isn't some shallow feel-good gimmick. This is psychological reality. The way you talk to yourself, especially in the morning when your mind is most impressionable, has a direct impact on your emotions, your actions, and your outcomes. If you make it a habit to fill those early moments with strength, discipline, and purpose, your mind will learn to default to that state, not just in the morning, but throughout the entire day. That's why self-talk is not just about motivation, it's about responsibility. It's about choosing not to be a victim of your own thoughts. It's about recognizing that, yes, life can be difficult, the world can be chaotic, and challenges will come. But you still have a choice. You have the ability to decide how you show up, how you interpret the world, and how you engage with reality. And that starts the moment you wake up. Now, maybe you think, well, it's not that simple. I can't just flip a switch and change my thinking. And that's true. This is not magic. It's a process. But the good news is, like any process, it gets easier the more you do it. At first, it might feel forced. You might wake up and tell yourself, I am capable, I am strong, I am ready. But part of you might hesitate. Part of you might want to roll its eyes and say, no, I don't believe that. That's fine, do it anyway. Because over time, those words will start to feel less like a script and more like a truth. Your mind will adapt. It will start to recognize those words not as wishful thinking, but as commands. And once you reach that point, your life starts to change. Think about the alternative. If you don't take control of that voice, if you don't make an effort to guide it, what happens? It runs wild. It follows whatever old conditioned patterns are most familiar, often the ones shaped by fear, by insecurity, by past failures. And if you let those patterns dictate your life, you'll find yourself stuck in the same cycles, repeating the same frustrations, never quite breaking free. But the moment you take charge, the moment you wake up and consciously decide to direct your thoughts instead of being directed by them, that's the moment you regain power. That's when you step into the driver's seat of your own mind instead of being a passive passenger in your own life. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, pay attention to that first thought, catch it, notice what it's telling you, and if it's something that weakens you, if it's something that drags you down, replace it. Say something stronger. Say something that moves you forward. Because those first words, they matter. They will either push you toward the person you're meant to be, or they will hold you back. The moment you wake up, before anything else, before the weight of the world settles onto your shoulders, you have a choice. You can let your mind immediately drift toward everything that's wrong, what you lack, what you haven't accomplished, what's weighing you down, or you can direct your focus towards something far more powerful, gratitude. Now, this isn't about blind optimism. It's not about pretending that life is perfect or ignoring the struggles that come with it. It's about perspective, because what you focus on determines how you experience the world. If the first thing you do in the morning is recognize something, anything that you are grateful for, you are actively training your mind to see possibility instead of limitation, strength instead of struggle, abundance instead of deficiency. And That's important because your brain is wired for survival. It instinctively scans for threats, for problems, for potential danger. That's useful in some situations, but if you're not careful, it becomes a habit, one that pulls you into a state of constant stress and negativity. Gratitude disrupts that cycle. It forces you to stop and acknowledge that despite everything, despite the imperfections, despite the challenges, there is still something in your life that is good, something that is worth appreciating. It doesn't have to be grand. Maybe it's the fact that you woke up at all, because not everyone gets that chance. Maybe it's the people in your life who stand by you even when you're not at your best. Maybe it's something simple, the way the sun hits your window in the morning, the feeling of fresh air in your lungs, the fact that you have another day to get things right. Whatever it is, recognizing it shifts something inside you. It reminds you that your life is not just a series of problems to solve, but a collection of moments to appreciate. And here's what happens when you make this a habit. You start to notice more. You start seeing the good that was always there, the things you overlooked when you were too focused on what was missing. And when you carry that mindset into the rest of your day, it changes the way you handle challenges. You become more resilient because instead of feeling like the world is against you, you recognize that there is still something working in your favor. It's not about ignoring hardship, it's about refusing to let hardship define you. You can wake up every day and dwell on what you don't have, or you can wake up and acknowledge what you do. One mindset leads to frustration, the other leads to strength, and the choice is yours. So tomorrow morning, before you let the noise of the world rush in, take a moment. Find something, even the smallest thing, to be grateful for, because that moment, that single shift in focus might just change the entire course of your day. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? That's not a rhetorical question. It's a fundamental reality. Because the truth is, no one is coming to hand you permission to chase your potential. No one is going to wake up in the morning and say, here, take this unshakable confidence and carry it with you throughout the day. That's your job. And it's not just about feeling good, it's about what happens when you genuinely trust in your own ability to face the world. Because life isn't easy. You know that. There are obstacles, setbacks, and days when you question whether you're even on the right path. And if you allow doubt to dictate your actions, if you hesitate, if you constantly second guess yourself, then you're already losing ground before you even begin. The world isn't kind to hesitation. It rewards those who step forward despite uncertainty, despite fear, despite every reason their mind gives them to hold back. And that's the thing about belief. It's not a passive feeling, it's a choice. And it's a choice you make every single day. You wake up, and before anything else, before the world tells you who you are, before circumstances try to define you, you decide. You decide whether you're going to shrink into the background or take ownership of your life. You decide whether you let past failures dictate your future, or whether you rise up and say, no, I'm not done yet. And you might think, but I don't feel confident. And that's fine. Confidence isn't a prerequisite for action. It's the result of it. You don't wait to feel ready. You take the first step. And in doing so, you prove to yourself that you're capable. You collect evidence of your own competence. That's how belief is built, not through wishful thinking, but through effort, through resilience, through proving to yourself again and again that you can handle what comes. And here's the reality. There will be people who doubt you. There will be moments where you fail, where things don't go according to plan. That's inevitable. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't isn't talent, and it isn't luck. It's the ability to keep moving forward despite the setbacks. It's the refusal to let failure be the final word. It's the understanding that the only real limitation is the one you accept. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, ask yourself one thing. What if I just believed in myself today? Not in a grand delusional way, just enough to take one step. Just enough to silence the doubt for a moment and act as if you're capable. Because that's how success is built. One decision, one action, one belief at a time. Life is difficult. That's not a mistake. That's not some cruel cosmic injustice. That's the reality. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you stop seeing challenges as something unfair, something that happens to you, and start seeing them for what they really are. Opportunities to grow, to learn, to become more than you were yesterday. Because what's the alternative? To expect everything to be easy? To wish for a life without struggle, without resistance, without hardship? What kind of life would that be? A meaningless one. Growth comes from adversity. Strength is forged through resistance. The people you admire, the ones who've built something real, who've become something worth becoming, they didn't get there by avoiding difficulty. They got there by facing it, by stepping into it willingly, by understanding that within every challenge lies the chance to become stronger. And that's the shift in mindset that changes everything. Instead of resenting the hard things in life, you start asking, what can this teach me? Instead of seeing an obstacle and thinking, why me? You think, good, now I have a chance to prove something to myself, to the world. You stop running from difficulty and start realizing that the most valuable things in life are hidden behind it. And it's not that the challenge itself is good, it's that what it demands from you is good. When life puts pressure on you, when it backs you into a corner, you're forced to reach deeper. You find out what you're made of. You uncover parts of yourself that would have stayed buried if everything had always gone smoothly. And those are the moments that define you, that shape you into someone capable of carrying real responsibility, of doing something meaningful, of standing tall despite the weight of the world pressing down. But most people don't think this way. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They take the easy way out, not realizing that the easy way now often leads to a much harder life later. Because every challenge you run from, every difficulty you refuse to face, doesn't just disappear, it grows. It waits for you. And eventually it will come back, and when it does, you'll be even less prepared to handle it. So the answer isn't to avoid challenges. It's to meet them head on, to lean into them, to understand that the difficult thing is the right thing. And every time you choose to embrace that, you build something in yourself that no one can take away. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, don't ask for it to be easier. Ask yourself who you need to become in order to overcome it. Because that's the real opportunity. Not just to win, not just to succeed, but to transform. And that's worth every ounce of struggle. Perfection is a lie. It's an illusion that keeps people trapped, paralyzed by the fear of not being good enough, of not having everything figured out before they even begin. And that's the tragedy, because the pursuit of perfection doesn't just stop people from failing, it stops them from starting in the first place. How many times have you put something off because you didn't think you were ready? How often have you hesitated because you were afraid it wouldn't be good enough? And what did that hesitation cost you? Because every moment spent waiting for the perfect conditions, for the perfect plan, for the perfect version of yourself to emerge, that's a moment wasted. But progress is real. Progress is measurable. It's the thing that moves you forward, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if it's far from perfect. Because movement, no matter how small, is infinitely better than standing still. And the people who succeed, the ones who actually make something of themselves, they aren't the ones who did everything perfectly. They're the ones who kept going despite the imperfections. You don't build a meaningful life by waiting for the perfect moment. You build it by taking what you have right now, however flawed, however incomplete, and pushing forward anyway. You improve along the way. You learn through experience. You adapt. And in doing so, you become something better than perfect. You become capable. Because real capability isn't about getting everything right the first time. It's about being resilient enough to get it wrong, to adjust, to try again. And yet, so many people refuse to start because they're afraid of being bad at something. But of course you'll be bad at it at first. That's how it works. No one starts at mastery. No one skips the struggle. Every expert, every successful person, every skilled individual you've ever admired, at some point, they were a beginner, stumbling through uncertainty, making mistakes, learning as they went. The difference is, they didn't let that stop them. They understood that the only way to become great at something is to be willing to be terrible at it first. And maybe that's what's stopping you. Not just the fear of failure, but the fear of looking foolish, of being judged, of not measuring up to some impossible standard. But here's the truth. No one cares as much as you think they do. The world isn't sitting around waiting for you to fail. And even if you do, so what? You adjust, you refine, you keep moving. Because in the end, the people who achieve great things aren't the ones who waited until they were perfect. They're the ones who understood that progress, no matter how imperfect, is what actually changes lives. So stop waiting, start now, because the only thing standing between you and who you could become is the belief that you need to be flawless before you even begin. The way you see the world determines the way you experience it. That might seem obvious, but most people never stop to really think about what it means. They go through life assuming that reality is just something that happens to them, that their circumstances dictate their emotions, that their struggles define their limits. But that's not true, not even close. The truth is, your mindset, the way you interpret and respond to what happens around you, is what ultimately shapes your life. Two people can go through the exact same situation, face the same obstacles, deal with the same challenges, and come out with completely different outcomes simply because of how they chose to see it. Because here's what most people don't realize. Your mind is not a passive observer of reality. It's an active participant. The way you think about yourself, your abilities, your potential, that determines what you're willing to try, what you believe is possible, and how much effort you're willing to put in when things get difficult. And when you believe that you're stuck, that you're a victim of your circumstances, that there's nothing you can do to change things, then you stop trying. You confirm your own defeat before you've even begun. But the opposite is also true. When you start to shift your mindset, when you start seeing challenges as something to be overcome rather than something to fear, when you start believing that your actions matter, that effort leads to growth, that failure is just part of the process, then everything changes. Suddenly, the world isn't just happening to you, you are shaping it. You are taking responsibility for it. And that's when real progress begins. Now, this doesn't mean lying to yourself. It's not about pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. Life is difficult. It will test you. It will push you. But the way you respond, that's up to you. You can choose to focus on what's unfair, on what's outside your control, on all the reasons things can't work out. Or you can decide to focus on what is in your control, on what you can do, on the next step you can take, on the things you can change. And that choice, that shift in perspective, makes all the difference. Because the reality is no one is going to hand you an easy life. No one is going to come along and magically fix all your problems. And if you're waiting for the perfect circumstances before you start taking control, you're going to be waiting forever. The world isn't fair. It never has been, and it never will be. But fairness is irrelevant. What matters is what you do with the hand you've been dealt. And that starts with the way you think. Your mindset isn't just some abstract concept. It's the foundation for everything. It affects the way you talk to yourself. It affects the way you show up in the world. It affects your relationships, your career, your health, your goals, everything. If your default response to hardship is, I can't handle this, then you're right. If your default response is, this is too hard, then you'll never push past it. But if you train yourself day by day to replace those thoughts with, I can figure this out, or I've overcome hard things before, I can do it again, then suddenly you're no longer the victim of your circumstances, you're in control. And this isn't about positive thinking for the sake of feeling good. This is about action. The people who achieve great things, who build something meaningful, who become the kind of people others look up to, they don't do it because life is easier for them. They do it because they refuse to let their mindset hold them back. They take responsibility. They take ownership of their thoughts, their choices, their reality. Because that's what it comes down to, responsibility. The moment you accept that your mindset is shaping your life, that your beliefs are dictating your actions, that the way you see the world is influencing what's possible for you, that's the moment you take control. That's the moment you stop blaming the world for your problems and start figuring out what you're going to do about them. And that's a powerful realization, because it means that no matter where you are right now, no matter what obstacles you're facing, you have a choice. You can keep thinking the same way, reacting the same way, staying stuck in the same patterns, or you can decide right now that you're going to change, that you're going to see things differently, that you're going to take the mindset of someone who refuses to settle, who refuses to let life happen to them, who refuses to be anything less than what they're capable of becoming. Every morning, before the world rushes in, before the demands, the distractions, and the pressures take hold, there is a moment where you decide how you will show up, a moment where you set the tone for the day ahead. And in that moment, what you tell yourself matters, because your words shape your mindset, and your mindset shapes your reality. If you start your day consumed by doubt, by fear, by frustration, then that is the lens through which you will see everything. But if you begin with purpose, with gratitude, with belief in your ability to grow, then you are setting yourself up for something far greater. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not defined by past failures. You are not bound by who you were yesterday. Every challenge you face is an opportunity. Every setback is a lesson. Every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. The difference between those who live with purpose and those who drift through life is not luck, not talent, not some external advantage. It's the mindset they choose every single day. So take responsibility. Take control of your thoughts. Take control of your actions. Stop waiting for perfection. Stop fearing failure. Stop letting the world dictate what you can and cannot do, because you have more power than you realize. And when you start each day with that understanding, with that conviction, with that fire inside you, there is no limit to what you can become.